Novel posted by u/polonium poisoning. My twin lives under the bed. Mark and I are 16 years old, or at least, I am. He died when he was a baby. It was a terrible accident, Dad says. It could have happened to anyone. Please don't think poorly of your mother. She loves you so much. If I'm being fair, this part one can't deny. I'm my mother's pride and joy, and she'd do anything for me. Well, anything but give my twin brother back. Or let me speak about him. Or not spank me when I begged her to let me be with him. But that doesn't happen often, because I know better. I gave up long ago, and I keep secrets from her now. I was always curious. An Aussie child. That's probably why I know everything I know. Still, I didn't think a lot about any of it until I was around 10. Dad explained to me that having twins is really hard. Both he and mom are estranged from their families, so I don't have grandparents or aunts in the figure, and they didn't have any help with us. The two of them were sleep deprived and had two noisy poopy babies to take care of. She was so tired, and her hand slipped because she drowsed. Then Mark, at only a few weeks old, was on the floor, his little head crumpled by the fall. Of course I can't remember it, but I assume it to be true, because I know babies' heads are really soft. Their design is super stupid overall. I imagine there was a lot of blood and ugly crying, and maybe his little brain was all gooey and scattered on the floor, but Dad won't tell me the gore details. It was really scary. We don't know what we would do if we didn't have you, Dad repeated over the years, and he always patted my head or kissed my hair. We love you so much, Princess. I can never lose you. I remember the first time I asked Dad directly about Mark. I think I was 11. Do you think you and mom would love him so much if I was the baby who died? We would love him, of course. But your mother always wanted a little girl. So was mom disappointed to have Mark? For some reason, Dad was astounded when I asked him that. I had never experienced an uncomfortable, heavy, difficult silence before. What's the matter, Dad? We never told you your brother's name, so how do you? Oh, Dad, but he told me. He lives under my bed, don't you know? Of course you do. He said he almost died, but then you let him live there, hiding from mom, because she would have been too scared. Dad's face was white as a paper. I was young, but I felt like I had peeked through a keyhole and learned about a world I wasn't ready to find yet. Princess, this is a secret only between you and me and Mark, of course. Don't tell your mother about it, Martha. Never. Why? Wouldn't she be happy to know her son is alive? It's complicated, Princess. I remember the way Dad bit his lip until it bled a little, then told me in a whisper, now go play with Mark, okay? Mom was a successful psychiatrist, whatever that means, so Dad was the one to quit his job and stay home with me. From that day on, he'd make me extra food to feed Mark, buy some boy toys, so Mark and I could have more fun, and we even had a secret code to put Mark back under my bed when Dad heard mom's car parking in front of our house. I was really happy, but I feel like Dad and I started drifting apart. He barely paid attention to the two of us. Maybe he thought that, since we were almost teenagers, he didn't need to watch us that much, or maybe he didn't like Mark a lot too. Shortly after that, Dad started taking me to a therapist, but I didn't really understand why. I didn't know why we had to keep that a secret from mom too. But I complied. I love being a good daughter and being called princess and not being spanked for asking questions. Dad kept telling me that it wasn't mom's fault that Mark died, and I believed him at first. But as I grew up, I started learning things. I learned that parents tell convenient lies to protect your feelings, and about postpartum depression. Mark, I asked him once when I was 14, did mom try to kill you on purpose? It took you long enough to figure out. You're really slow, Ma, he replied, nodding enthusiastically with his slightly deformed head. Mom didn't want a son, and she didn't want to ruin her career. She was also, you know, really sad and didn't think things straight. Do you hate her? I don't think so. But I don't love her either. She's the reason I have to pretend I don't exist and hide under your bed. Is it too bad? I love being with you, C's. But in a few years you'll be a grown up, and where will I go? I don't even know how to read. In my whole life, I never felt as sad as I did that day. I started to plan something, but I didn't have the guts to do it. That until recently. Mom's work had an event for the employees' children, and she took me. Until that day, I never heard much about her work, and barely knew what she did. It was horrifying to find out she was the director of an asylum for the mentally ill, one with a really bad reputation. She didn't believe that the patients could improve, or even get a second chance. It was a place where fragile people in desperate need of help were sent to in order to languish to death. Mom was evil, and she had to go. I waited until one of the rare moments when she was home, but dad was not. Even though I never had the courage to actually do it, I've been training for this moment for years. My hands were now strong enough to strangle her. She would never have suspected me, her beloved daughter, her princess. She didn't even put up a fight and her body soon went numb. Then she stopped breathing. I didn't feel good about killing her. It felt wrong and dirty, although it was a relief. I was like a soldier killing in the war with no joy, but for the greater good. I decided to hide her body under the loose boards of my bedroom. It felt fit. She murdered Mark, and even though he somehow survived, he had to spend 16 years living under my bed. Now she was the one who had to spend eternity down there, and way deeper. When dad came home that night, I pretended I didn't see her, but told him that I think I heard her leaving. Dad seemed to believe me, but I grew happier and happier with her absence. And the smell. I'm ashamed to say I didn't plan that far ahead. I tried to use perfume, essential oils and even bleach, but every day it was harder and harder to conceal it. I barely had time to enjoy Mark's newfound freedom because I was so skittish the whole time. I knew I needed to burn the body, but it would be impossible for me and Mark to do it on our own. We needed to tell dad. So I ended up confessing, thinking that he would be able to forgive me. Thinking that maybe he hated mom for taking away his son too. Thinking that the three of us would be happy now. Instead, dad knocked me on the head so hard that I passed out. When I came to, my whole body was restricted by a rope. I heard his muffled voice coming from the next room. He was pacing, nervous and noisy, which meant he was talking on the phone. Martha has been having delusions since she was 10. She suddenly started thinking her dead twin was alive and under her bed. I know it's my fault to go along with it so I could protect her. I tried psychotherapy, but she didn't improve. I never thought she would become violent. You know how Sharon thought that schizophrenia patients were unfixable. I couldn't lose my only daughter to a cold and inhuman mental ward. I still don't know very well what he meant, but that's how I ended up here. The above was written by Martha Goodwill, 16, a newly admitted patient at the St. Alphonsus Humanized Psychiatric Hospital. When asked to write a report about her life and the reason why she was sent here, Ms. Goodwill shows lucidity and awareness of her surroundings at all times, but is adamant on the belief that her deceased brother is alive. Due to have murdered her mother during a delusional crisis, but being unimputable, Martha's father/legal guardian willingly sent her to us. Travis B. Wilson, head director at the St. Alphonsus Humanized Psychiatric Hospital. Hear me out, ghosts. Part of Mark never left. Maybe he even died in that room. That's how he was able to tell his sister his real name, and why she didn't respond to therapy. She wasn't imagining things. But how did she know her brother's name? Unless I missed something. Really good though. Yeah, right, don't get it either. Maybe he is alive and the father was lying on the phone. Maybe Mark wasn't even his name. I have no idea. I think the dad pretended that it was the name. Oh, I was hoping to see more about St. Alphonsus. I highly doubt it's humanized though. Thanks for sharing your findings with us. There is more. There's a link. It's in the signature of the guy, Travis, at the end of the story. Yup, that's what I was referring to equals. That's it folks, you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the video.